Welcome to episode 111 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Warren Sklar, is off this week, but I have a great guest this week, first-time guest, Mr. Davis Knight. How you doing, Davis? Hey,
everyone. I'm doing great, Dave. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled and honored to step in when necessary.
Oh, no, it wasn't a step in. We wanted to come. I always try to bring on some guests here, and we wanted to. That never changes. So, and then we're always trying to give some variety of different perspectives of what goes on in the iOS and iPhone world. We will. What we'll talk about tonight is I'm going to get to know you a little better. Have everybody else get to know you a little bit as well. And then we got lots of news stories. Always exciting things going on in the news, including I haven't checked Apple stock. It's at $460 a share after the close as we record this, which is just pretty amazing. Got some good topics and some tips, and we'll just dig right into that. So, I want to find out a little bit more about you, Davis. You and I met actually at Suburban Chicago Apple Users, SCAU. That's the Apple user group that I am been the president of for almost over 11 years now. And you just recently took over as our programs team leader, which is great. We're going to have some great programs for our group. And good thing is you have a lot of great things with technology and iOS. And I guess first thing I'll ask you is, what are the devices you have? You definitely have an iPhone, I know. And what other things do you have?
I have virtually everything. We are an all Apple household.
Okay.
We Google and a couple of Android devices have snuck their way in, but it's probably only because Apple does not play in that market. But we have everything from multiple iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, iMacs. So we are a full Apple household all in, and I am a huge Apple fan and evangelist, and just love the products, love the company, love the culture.
I couldn't tell what the shirt you're wearing, but
no, not at all, not at all. Got to get
his Apple shirt on.
Courtesy of Jeff, yes.
Our friend Jeff Shiley. So you you were actually a chef by trade, so that's kind of different as far as being involved with technology. But obviously, you are passionate with technology as well as passionate about cooking and being a chef.
Yes, I was a huge proponent of integrating technology into the kitchen. Believe it or not, transforming the back office operations and literally the kitchen line operations from old paper and just yelling and screaming across the kitchen to putting in point of sale systems and monitors and terminals and really streamlining that process. So I'm a huge proponent of that and really excited because it really does help streamline the process and the ability to get food out faster.
Yeah.
I've often said if I wasn't in food service or food related businesses in some way, I would be working for Apple if they would have me. So huge fan. Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to be working for Apple. I mean, as much as it's how great of a company is, you work on some demanding hours and they don't pay so well, especially unless you get out in Silicon Valley.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, though. I will tell you that I've had this conversation with a number of people. When I say that I'm a huge Apple fan, most people go, "Oh, you just like the technology, you just like the phone," and that's very true. I do like all of their products, the design. But I'm also a huge fan of the culture. I mean, I do know some people that work for Apple. I've read a lot about the company and everything that I know about them. I'm just a huge supporter of what they've done, and their story continues to motivate me to this day. And I just, it's just they're just fantastic.
So much so you just started a new podcast not too long ago, which is exciting, and we're going to actually have a topic of talking about podcasting a little bit later in the show, but. What's the podcast?
Well, the podcast is Diabetic Savvy, the podcast edition. The short story of a little bit about me. I left the food service industry after 10 years of running both the operations and the food service side with a huge national company. After I was diagnosed with diabetes in 2018, and it because I was so intimately involved with food, there was an immediate awareness of just how little food and culinary education there is out there for the diabetic community. And because I have such a huge love of technology, I decided to step away from my career and start up a website and a podcast and a YouTube channel that really helped empower and motivate the diabetic community from a food perspective. And we're really proud of what we're doing.
Awesome. All right, let's. So, like I said, we'll talk about podcasting here in a little bit. I thought it'd be a good topic as how we consume our podcasts on our iOS devices. So, but let's go right into the news this week. The first story caught my eye was this is Mac Room is always my favorite place to find good news. Apple Watch and iPad launching in September, and an iPhone 12 event to take place in October. So Apple did confirm last month that the iPhone 12 was going to be delayed, and I know everybody was very sad about that. And I would be ready to go turn in my 11 Pro Max here like next month too to update it. But they're saying that leaker John Prosser, who's always pretty solid about Apple's plans. So they're talking about a new Apple Watch, which we were kind of expecting. It's the going to probably be the Series 6. We're on the Series 5 now. And they're looking to that to be released in the beginning of September. And there will be a new iPad. So that'd be curious to see where that goes, because we just had new iPads last year, and the iPads that are out now are just phenomenal with power. But I think with Apple Silicon and that coming on, I bet they're going to just keep cranking away with the iPad as far as the processor. Wouldn't you think on that piece?
I agree. I think this announcement is not really anything earth-shattering. I mean, no. Apple has precedent before of launching new products, and the phone specifically in October. I think what makes this year harder is that because of quarantine and everything that we're dealing with, these kind of events are really they're great news in there, and we anticipate them so much. So I think that's really exciting. It doesn't surprise me that they would launch a few, for lack of a better word, press release products in September to keep that schedule going, and then really ramp up the big product, the iPhone launch in October, because they have to do it before the holiday season. I think that makes sense from a business perspective. But if nothing else, I think with everything going on with the stock and everything else, I think this would just increase anticipation for the unit. And I'm real excited about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So iPhone devices, interesting how this is going to pan out from what they're saying. I guess remember, all this is all rumor. So the pre-orders would happen in October for the iOS 12 iPhone 12 devices, but then the iPhone 12 Pro, which I would be more interested in, won't be shipped. They're saying potential shipping not until November, which is that's really late for Apple when it comes to iPhones. Usually,
that's cutting it close. Yeah.
Again, it's all rumor. We'll see what happens, but always find it interesting to talk about and then ending up what happens. But he's been pretty solid in what he predicts, John Prosser. So
I love John. I love his style. I think he's absolutely hysterical. He's got a really great track record recently. I mean, and he's really, especially over the last few months, really solidified himself as a dependable rumor generator or rumor confirmer, for lack of a better word, and predictor of what's going on with Apple. So, I'm sad to see the delay. We'll see if it really comes true, but I'll be holding on with bated breath regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Apple's Prime equivalent, Apple One, is going to release in October. The imminent announcement is following months of rumors about the Apple Prime. Basically, what this is, this was in Ars Technica, but it was actually quoted from Bloomberg. Apple plans to launch an all-in-one subscription bundle. Hallelujah! They've been asking about that for a long time. In October, they're saying, after months of rumors, they are working on something, and it's going to be like an Amazon Prime-like subscription bundle. So it'll be interesting to see where the costs are going to be in here. Again, all speculation. They're not sure what it's going to be. Maybe they're going to wait and have it as part of Apple's as the release of iOS 14. I would anticipate iOS 14 will release sooner than later, but I'm hearing rumor now that iOS 14 may not release until October as well. So that's kind of throwing things off. So this has been the most wackiest year, obviously, with pandemic and all the crazy stuff's been going on. So it's a fact. It's affecting everybody. But yeah, it is what it is. But they're saying there'll be multiple tiers and definitely differences based on an iPhone or an iPad. in fact, you posted this article in our Suburban Chicago Echo users community. So, what did you think about this?
I'm excited about the bundle. I mean, as someone who literally subscribes to virtually everything, I think the only one that I bounce in and out of because I don't have time is Apple Arcade. I would love to be, I would love to use it more, but for all the wrong reasons, But so I would love to see this. I mean, I think it's long overdue. And as Apple changes as an organization and they become more and more of a services company, they've got to do something in order to continue to broaden the ecosystem. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they're not just one thing anymore. Apple is an ecosystem, and all of these changes have to work together. And I think a bundle reinforces that, and it's going to make it a lot more interesting from a financial perspective for growth. So I'm really excited about it.
It's interesting because you got to think about all the services and everything's been talked about with Apple's services when it comes to consuming and storing and lots of things that you want to do with your iPhone. You've got Apple Music, you have Apple TV Plus. A lot of us are going to be coming off of that year free subscription on Apple TV Plus here pretty soon here. But we'll talk about content there in a minute. And I keep every week it seems like there's more discussions about new stuff that Apple's jumping in. I know Apple TV Plus, I didn't even put that article in. Then Martin Scorsese signed a multi-year deal with Apple TV Plus for movie commitments. I mean, it's just crazy how much stuff is with Apple TV Plus. News Plus is becoming real hot too. I have an article about that in a minute here too as well. And then Apple Arcade, like you said, I'm not a gamer, so I tried it and I opted out not to continue on with that service. So far the first three I am a subscriber. And then the fourth one, of course, is iCloud. I mean, I would think that they could come up with maybe a better pricing bundle with iCloud because, it's crazy how much we pay for iCloud a month. I think $2.99 a month you get the even I think 99 cents a month or something like for the 50 gig plan or 20 gig I think it is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but then there's also another interesting thing that's unannounced called potentially a workout service called Apple Active. And there's been a lot of discussion that they're going after the Peloton workouts and such. So, because that's such a hot thing right now. People just, with the video and everything on I'm saying that right, Peloton, right? Is it
Peloton?
Peloton, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you think about all this?
Well, first of all, I think you're 100% right about the excitement and the anticipation over they had to do something with the bundle. Right. iCloud has just a particular kind of a beef with me just because while I know we pay more than the market really demands for the tiers, my problem really is the tiers, the tier structures. You go literally from 500 gigabytes to 2 terabytes. And I'm like, I need something in between. So, I'm going to be interested to see if that becomes more of an attractive, because I have to use it, right? So if it becomes more attractive with the bundle. So I'm excited about that. I think, the activity piece is something that's really interesting because it's moving more and more of that fitness and that health initiative that Apple has been working on for so many years, even further forward, from renaming the activity app now to fitness, to going into this fitness tangent with the bundle services. They've got over 1 billion devices in people's hands or in front of people's faces. Why wouldn't they get into this? And with such a huge initiative with Apple Watch, I think it makes a lot of sense from a services perspective. Yep,
absolutely. And then moving on, let's talk a little bit about some of the other announcements that were made. Actually, again, it's still rumors, but they're pretty solid here. Apple TV Plus potentially could get a huge discount on Showtime and CBS All Access, which of course are both owned by the CBS owns Showtime, so they're pulling another bundle here. This was in Kuldemak, and Apple is reportedly working on a deal with Viacom CPS that will get Apple TV subscribers CBS All Access and Showtime content for less than half price. So you're paying, I think, $6 a month for CBS, and I think you pay $14 or $15 for Showtime. They're saying they're going to bundle both of them for $10 a month. So that's pretty aggressive when it comes to the content. I don't find, and like a quoting in the article here, CBS All Access has really been called the Star Trek channel because that's really the only reason why I think a lot of people subscribe to it. I mean, I know the Star Trek cartoon's coming out soon. Doesn't excite me. But when Discovery comes back out, I'll probably go back and subscribe again because and they have to know that that's what people do. I mean, the same thing happened with Disney Plus, and Disney Plus pulled their trial when Hamilton came out because they knew where people were going to jump on it for the trial and then watch Hamilton and be done with it. So it's you want to see it, you got to get a subscription and at least pay for a month. So what do you think?
I agree completely. I mean, I am all jazzed about the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, but I've got so much subscription fatigue with all these different services, and they're getting worse and worse. In fact, I was just talking to my wife last night about Quibi, and there's some series I want to see on there. And one more thing, it's like I can't justify paying for all of this. So there's got to be some sort of more aggressive pricing for all these services if they expect people to just to continue to buy them. And when you think about Disney Plus, they own Hulu and they own ESPN, and they've really sort of pushed the market forward with regards to bundle pricing. Because I was a Hulu subscriber before Disney Plus came out, and the minute Disney Plus was launching, I was immediately barraged with all of this competitive pricing. Right. So it's par for the course, and we'll see where it goes. But I think at the end of the day, what more and more people want is one place for everything. And if Apple TV Plus can be that and arrange these deals, it's better for everybody. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Next story. This is a Mac Rumors. Wall Street Journal is going to stick with Apple News Plus because it brings, quote, genuinely different audience. The Wall Street Journal has been one of the few newspaper publications to participate in Apple News Plus. According to the statements that were from the company CEO, Robert Thompson, the Wall Street Journal has no plans to end its partnership because there's some bitterness with the New York Times, who want no part of Apple TV Plus. But Wall Street Journal is smart. I mean, I think the way they went about it was they put their content there, but you got to dig, you got to find it. It's not going to be as easy as being a full out Wall Street Journal subscriber. Like I like to read things that Joanna Stern writes all the time, the technology writer for the Wall Street Journal. And I follow her on Twitter, and I usually get to see everything that she writes. But it takes a little digging to try to find it. But I think they're smart because the content's there just the way News Plus is curated. So smart move on Wall Street Journal. What do you think?
Well, I think there's 3 points that I think are really important about the story. And one is this reminds me a lot of the music story some years ago with iTunes. There's this resistance of this old school industry that doesn't think they need Apple and doesn't want to change with the times. And Apple's paving the way along with other organizations. Everything is going digital, and you cannot argue with the amount of devices Apple has out there in people's hands. And if you want to reach that audience, digital is the way to go. It's just, so that's the first thing. Second thing is, I think you're absolutely right. The Wall Street Journal and other similar industries and publishers have to figure out how to get in front of a different audience, one that doesn't read advertising, they don't read a newspaper, and this is the way to do it. And they've got to rethink their model. And I genuinely different audience to me really means younger millennials. That's really what kind of comes to me about that. And they're a very different audience when it comes to reading. And if you expect to be relevant, you've got to figure out how to adapt to that medium and that platform. Absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, I pretty much read 90% of my news through Apple News. Once in a while I go to Flipboard, but pretty much everything is Apple News now. And I think we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but now they're even expanding that Apple News platform to even include audio. So it's almost like it's this hybrid of news and podcasting. So it's really interesting to see what's happening. And I think these older, long established industries and publishers have to get on board if they expect it to survive.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago on the show when that was announced. Actually, when iOS 13.6 came out, that's when it was released. The Apple News Plus audio.
Have you listened?
It's great, and you
it's
get
really good.
And they've got some great curators, and they've got some. They do their daily podcasts, and it's like 8 or 9 short minutes of just getting a news recap, what's going on in the morning, and it's just like your fresh way of listening to news. And then the same thing with being able, it reads articles from different magazines, anything from Vanity Fair to Esquire to some other magazines. New York Times magazine. No, I won't do that one because New York Times is in there. But some of the magazines are out there. Some articles, The Atlantic, those kind of things. It's neat that you want to be able to, maybe you're in your car. Not too many of us are commuting lately, but just if you want to be able to listen to a story as opposed to having to read it. You can, of course, do that with the synthesized voice, but they actually have curated readers that read these stories, which is great.
I just started listening to it, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I listened to a couple of podcasts like the Daily 202 from the Washington Post, and I really like that sort of daily briefing, 10, 15 minutes tops, of here's what are the top stories are, here are the discussion points, and the fact that Apple is trying to capture that market in a way that really is, this is how people want to consume news now. They do it semi-passively, but they want to do it with doing other things. And I think they're right to do it. And I'm excited that they're leveraging all of that work they did with Apple Music and all of that talent. And, all of this is laying the groundwork for some really great things coming. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Let's go ahead and move on. A little bit of updates this week. Actually, Apple released iOS 13.6.1, which fixed a storage issue and a green tinted display on some devices. It was a minor update, very small, minute. It was only, I think, at the most 110 megabytes, which is tiny, so it updated pretty quickly. But it does get rid of some of the unneeded system data that's stored on the device, especially if you have a device that doesn't have a lot of storage. That's going to help you clean things up. Some thermal management issues that caused the iPhone displays to exhibit a green tint, and they also fixed a bug about exposure notifications that was disabled by some users. So, did you install it? Any thoughts on that?
I did. I mean, I did it for the storage issue. I don't think I have an issue with that because I'm not using anywhere near the full capacity.
I don't have to worry about it. I have 256. So
yeah. But what I thought was kind of interesting, I think there was some things going on underneath the hood that they had to release this so soon to the latest, platform release, 14. So I think there's some other things, particularly some thermal things that probably, and some display things that were very front-facing fixes that had to be done. So I'll be surprised if there's any more releases before the big September or now maybe October event. Yeah.
Well, I'd be far-fetched to see if it actually does do any do any other updates, but generally these types of updates, the .1, .2 are only because they're supplemental. They have to do it because it's more so security that they're going to do it. Right. So, okay. And next story was also Mac rumors. Apple has now launched a music beta website with iOS 14 design, and the Listen Now tab replaced the For You tab. And Apple did recently release, I don't know if you were aware of this, they relaunched an Apple Music beta website, but they did add the Listen Now tab that'll replace that For You tab on the standard Apple Music website. Listen Now, same as For You, so it's just featured top picks, usage habits, all that stuff. But no, it was interesting. Glad to see that Apple Music did decide to really expand and not just be focused on just your iOS device or your Mac or iPad, because anybody can listen to it. There's actually an Apple Music app for the Android too. So that's good to see that they're continuing on bringing Apple Music on the web as well. What you think?
I love the idea. I think they need to be everywhere. My only concern is it seems to be a little bit fragmented. Great example would be they launched the most listened playlist of on the website only, and I remember it was at the end of the year where you could download the playlist of your most listened songs over the past year, and I know it was so incredibly hard to not only find that, but also how do you integrate it with your iOS devices and the website. We finally got it to work, but I think that's my only caution about this is as long as it's the same everywhere, I think it's great. Because I would love to be able to have the flexibility of going just straight to the internet or online for those kinds of services when I want them. But if I can't get everything and it's a little disjointed, I would probably default to my device more often than I would go to the web. So,
yeah, no, for sure. So next story, Also, Mac rumors, Apple was ordered to pay PanOptis $506 million for violating LTE patents. Apple needs to pay them some pocket change, $506 million for the willfully infringing on the handful of patents related to 4G LTE technology. And a Texas jury ruled today. So they said Apple did not prove that the patent claims were invalid, and yada 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 with all the legal stuff. It just seems like Apple just gets sued like every other day for things. I would not be surprised if they'll appeal this, as it says right in the last sentence of the article. What do you think of this?
I mean, 2 points. One is Apple's a big target. First thing. Second thing is
very much so.
Texas and patent trolls. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I'm not absolving Apple of necessarily doing something wrong, but boy, if you want to win a case as a patent troll, Texas is the place to be. I mean, it's just, this isn't the first time this kind of thing has happened, so it's a little frustrating. And I think the other thing that kind of worries me about this is that our patent system isn't really cut and dry. I mean, these are standard essential patents. And if anybody wants to get in this business, whether it's Apple or not, there's got to be a better way of using these patents from a licensing agreement that's not quite so muddy, So I think what I wanted to do before we got on the show was I wanted to figure out exactly how long does it take Apple to make 506 million, and it probably is less than 30 days. So, I mean, they'll get past it, but yeah, it's
again with anything that they get sued for. I mean, it's all they like to sensationalize what
Apple
happens,
grabs headlines.
So, yeah, they do. The next story, this was an iMore.com. Actually, the iPhone has set a Q2 record for a U.S. as overall market declines. So this was actually a story in iMore. It looks like this was from a company called Canalys that does charts and such. And if you go to that site, and actually is an interesting way to look at the numbers here. The Q2 shipments for 2020, Apple had 15 million, where Samsung was well far behind them at 7.4 million. So the market share went from 47% for Apple and 23% for Samsung. You compare that to Q2 of 2019, it was a lot less. Actually, Samsung was flat, and Apple was still at the 40% market share. So, but they got a 10% growth over year over year. So, no surprise here for us being Apple fans, iPhone fans, and what'd you think of this?
I'm thrilled for it, being an Apple fan. I think there's a lot of interesting bits to this story that are under the hood that we could probably spend a whole show just talking about why this possibly is. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, this is really a testament to the quality, workmanship, and dependability of Apple products. I mean, when you buy an Apple product, you're buying something that is going to last you a heck of a lot longer than their competitors. I mean, it's both from a retail value perspective, but also a performance perspective. And I think that at times like this, you're spending more money up front, but it's cheaper over time. And I'm real excited. It's great for Apple. It's great, and hopefully it'll make, their competitors, namely Android, make better quality phones.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's really the goal of it is you want competition. Mm-hmm. Apple can't be the end all be all. Samsung, hey, you guys need to come up with some devices that are going to compete with the iPhone, because you can't expect there's plenty of people who love Android, and that's fine. And it's just you got to have competition or to keep these companies innovating.
Absolutely.
With their products.
Absolutely.
So, so that is the news, and I wanted to talk briefly about beta this week. You don't dabble in beta at all, right? You're not a big beta guy.
I need my phone too much. It's one of
we're not like Warren, where he
right.
he has to have the latest and greatest, and he lives on the edge of everything here. So,
I did that 1 year, and I had such just a really rough experience that, as much fun as it was, it wasn't worth the downsides.
Aggravation.
Yeah.
A lot of aggravation. So Well, I happen to have extra devices, so that's what I do and install them on those
So
devices.
jealous.
But
So jealous.
Beta 4, I think, is the latest version out there now, and believe me, we're as it gets closer, we're going to talk a lot more about iOS 14, iPadOS 14, and all the other updates as they come out, and there's going to be a lot to talk about.
What are you thinking about the beta so far?
So far, not bad. I mean, I don't play with it enough because it's a secondary device, and that's the thing. You technically you should have it on your primary device because that's the device you use all the time. So I'm not going to carry around 2 phones with me all the time. So I just have it on that phone as iPhone as a way so I can go back and look at it. It's like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. I like the app library. I like a lot of the new features that iOS 14 has. So, but yeah, we'll definitely be talking a lot more about that as it comes out.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So next topic was I had talked about this in the show a couple weeks ago. It might have been a month ago. Setapp. Setapp is a subscription service. Are you a Setapp subscriber?
I'm not a Setapp. No, okay. I'm not.
Okay. Are you familiar?
I am familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and they at the last count. In fact, this is an article from my friends at Tidbits. Adam X actually wrote this story. He said at last count, the Setapp is now up to 193 apps that are available on the service. But the huge news was the fact that you can now be able to you'll get Setapp offers the app for you, but now it's also available in iOS. So what they've done is that they're offering so far 8 apps: To Do, Gemini, MindNode, Ulysses, which is is like a writing app, and then you can a task heat, which plan path of any of your goals. So it's kind of like flow charting, and so much more. And the cool thing is it's a one flat rate subscription. You pay I think $9.99 per month fee. And they were giving it up to 2 devices. So there had been some debate whether or not it's worth it, because it depends on all the apps that they're on there. But I find it invaluable. There's so many apps that I use. One of them specifically I use for keeping track of the news stories every week is News Explorer, which is a great app. It's a news aggregator. And there's a couple others I hear. A Bartender, it takes control of your menu bar icons. Short Menu, which is really cool. They have access. I use this all the time to do short URLs. You just copy paste and it goes, like using Bitly or J.mp or a lot of those other services. So, but the cool thing is, you are able to get these iOS apps. Now, it is a little interesting. You kind of wonder about the fact that is this violating Apple's App Store policies? But I guess it turns out it's not. And if you read through an article here, it really, you go through the details here. They say you must use in-app purchase, which they're not doing. They're going around that because you're not supposed to use QR codes to scan things. Well, that's what you're doing to get the app on the device. And that's also how you're getting the license to say, hey, this app is part of Setapp, because like an app like Ulysses is an app that you have to pay an extra fee for in-app subscription. So if you had already done that in the App Store, that you could cause some conflicts here. But so there's a Setapp license and there's the App Store license. So, but I guess there's way they're fine with it, and Setapp's statement was that they would never put their vendors at risk, and they got full blessing from Apple to go forward. So that's all they got to say, and it's working.
I'm surprised by it, to be totally honest, because to your point, I mean, it seems to be to go against the policy and the way they've set up the App Store and the whole walled garden system of, particularly your iOS devices. It'll be interesting to see if it has legs. Because
it does. Trust me, there's a lot of traction right now. A lot of people are real excited about it. Our friend Bob Fairbairn, who's been on the show and part of our Apple user group, he already texted me this morning, and because every time he sees something cool, he sends me a text, and he said, oh my God, this is so cool. I was like, yeah, dude, I've been beta testing. I said, you're the one that does beta testing all the time, my friend. So if he's excited about it, it's got to be kind of cool. And so I think it's gonna be something pretty special. I'm pretty impressed with Setapp. I like that. I've always enjoyed the bundles, because they would sell those bundles for like, oh, you can get these 12 or 15 apps for $20 or $15 or whatever it is. Well, Setapp is bringing these developers in place and to get people interested in their apps, and I don't hear them complaining about it, because it's got to be pretty similar to what they're making with the App Store, whether it be the Mac App Store or the iOS Store with Apple. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see.
I'm going to be interested to see if this sets precedent for future apps. What this is going to mean for the future of new applications coming on. Will they be going through like a Setapp scenario, or will they be going through a traditional, the traditional App Store model? I mean, it's really interesting. And again, this sort of like coming out of a conversation about subscription fatigue. Right. Does this play into that? And it's going to be interesting. And I am all for the idea, and I think that I am familiar with. I am familiar with this from the Mac perspective, and I just think from the iOS perspective it's a little bit different, but it could very well go that way. So, and if it's working, it's working and keeps really well done applications and developers engaged, I'm all for it. Yeah,
and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to track these other developers who are willing to have their apps in Setapp, because not all those big apps like iMazing, which is a very popular app that allows you to back up your iPhone and sync everything and be able to extract messages and your voicemails, all that stuff. They opted out of Setapp, and now they're on their own, and they're also charging a lot more for it too. So they're obviously making some money for it. So, and they saw that didn't find as much value to Setapp as others did, but no, it'll be exciting. Other topic I want to touch upon, Fortnite. I don't know if you've ever played Fortnite before. It's a fantasy game. Again, I'm not a gamer, so I can't give you exact what it does, but it's a lot of venture, a lot of killings, slashings, all that stuff.
It is it's incredibly addictive, and I think that's why I specifically stay away from it now, because it is you will literally lose time playing that game. You'll look up and 3 days have gone by and you need a shave, and you just got past level 1. So it's a great game, but it's dangerously addictive.
It's phenomenally popular. So Epic Games is the company who owns them. And Apple, once Epic decided to create a direct payment method on iOS, Apple said, you're violating the App Store policy. Well, that's what we're doing. So what Apple do? They pulled the app out of the App Store. So then now you're also talking about the debate of Apple takes 30%, and that debate's been going on. We've talked about this before on the show. Is that a lot? I think it's fair. I think it's just base it on, hey, Apple's is the gorilla in the room. I mean, they have what people want, and the people are willing to just be there and let them take that piece and be fine with it. And it is generally not a big issue. But now they want direct payment. They're wanting to do direct payments. Well, Apple's not going to allow it. So now, of course, they're working with Apple to resolve the violations, but I don't think it's going to happen, and they're not going to get any special arrangements. Even the Hey app, that Hey email app that was big, that started the controversy, who ended up working around it anyway, because they know they can't do it. But they got back into the App Store. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, they say they're going to sue Apple. I don't think they're going to have any feet to stand on here. Funny that as I got this article, I come across, and they've also been removed from the Google Play Store for Android. So similar types of complaints there. So what do you think of this whole crazy thing?
Well, I mean, I think that I understand Fortnite's position, but at the end of the day, Apple provides the playing field to play in at the end of the day, and I don't think what they're asking for is unrealistic. There is precedent for the agency model, and their percentages, they haven't increased their percentages. They've been In fact, they've lowered them in many, many cases, particularly with subscription models. So I think that, I don't think that Apple's asking for anything that is unreasonable given their market share. And, at the end of the day, you're probably going to pay more marketing and growing the platform and your game on your own than just paying the 30% anyway. I mean, I think the thing that worries me about this is, and this is probably more true for books than anything else. I mean, so for example, if I want to read a Kindle book on my phone, I have to go literally all the way out into Amazon separately, create a whole new transaction to buy that book. That is incredibly uncomfortable. First world problem, going back out to the web like an animal, but it does take you out of the experience, and I would much rather not have that. And it just creates more friction. And I don't know if Fortnite has enough of a handhold on their fans and their players to be able to do this. And I don't know what they're going to do without that platform. Again, it's too many hands, too many Apple devices in too many people's hands.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, next topic. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about podcasting. I know you and I have had some exciting conversations, and I know you were pretty psyched when I invited you on the show here. You started up a podcast not too long ago. You guys what are you guys on now? By episode 10 now by this point? Or
we have episode 10 is uploading next week. So it's real exciting for us.
Boy, I can't pull that number out of left field. I didn't even know the number. So that's great. And so everybody knows what I've been doing here. So it's exciting to hear what your take is on the podcasting setup. And really, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are as far as how people consume your podcast. So first of all, tell everybody what the name of your podcast is, and I think we said it earlier in the show, but let's make sure you get a plug.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah. The podcast is called Diabetic Savvy, and it's a show that talks about the most interesting, inspiring, and unique stories impacting the diabetic community worldwide. I mean, we've done stories on how they're making a hybrid insulin from snail venom in order to make a faster acting insulin for diabetics, and so just really unique stories that could have a dramatic effect on the community. Our podcast is somewhat specialized, but there's a huge amount. There's a huge community in the world, and I think that our goal is to try and be an outlet for proactive diabetic conversation that's not medically based. That's not like going to the doctor's office. And that's really kind of the idea. I host it with my co-host, Stacy, who is a registered dietitian. We've been working together and known each other for 10 years. So we have a really good take on the community and on the needs. So, and we have a lot of fun doing it. It's just an absolute blast.
So reason I want to put a little bit of a spin on mobile. I've talked about this many times before. All the ways you can consume a actual podcast with all the different podcast catchers out there, whether it be Pocket Cast, Downcast, Overcast, and I mean, honestly, Overcast is probably one of the most popular ways of people listening to this podcast, other than Apple Podcasts. So. Have you looked at some of this stuff yet? And you and I have talked about it, and kind of the way people consume podcasts?
Correct. Yes. We are, speaking for my own podcast, we're on every directory right now except for Pandora, and I don't know what the holdout is there. But
well, you're at least on Pandora. I'm not on at least I don't think I'm on Pandora. I haven't tried.
No, I'm not yet. That's the point. We've been trying to get on there for months, for weeks, and it's just
that's pretty tough to get.
I don't understand why, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I will tell you the two most popular directories that we're on is Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Right.
And what I know,
Spotify.
What I am really interested about though is that we have a number of listeners who are listening on their watch though, which blows me away. It's so interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's real exciting information. And
there's an app called Outcast that's probably what they're using, or they're downloading it with the Apple Podcast app onto their watch. So because you have a dedicated podcasting app on your Apple Watch called Outcast that it's installed on your iPhone, but all the podcasts get uploaded right into your Apple Watch. And then, you get your AirPods, and then you can go for a run, and then you don't even have to have your phone. You can listen to it on your iPad, on your Apple Watch.
It's incredibly exciting. I think that, it's a statement to not only where the watch is going, but what you can do with it is it's really, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm so thrilled to be everywhere, or virtually everywhere now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm excited for you because it was new for me, and just doing this now is a labor of love because there's a lot of labor involved, right. as you're starting to find out. With we would just experience it now with you dropping off, and now we'll have to do a little extra work of editing the podcast. But that's part of the. That's part of how it all goes here, especially when we have to do these things remotely. So, but no, it's great to hear that you're enjoying it, and I'm super stoked to how people consume it. And that's why I do the show, because the iPhone is going to be a primary way of you doing most of your life. It's just amazing that the little device that you have in your pocket, this iPhone, compared to what we used 10 or 15 years ago with the mobile devices that we had, it basically can do everything. Well, for the most part.
Let me ask you something as more of a veteran podcaster, and congratulations on celebrating your 100th. I think you're up to 111 now, so that's what an awesome milestone. I think it would be really interesting to me as a younger podcaster to hear what you've seen change from your first episode to your 111th. And, where's that experience telling you it's going? Because I see nothing but this expanding. I mean, this is as big as blogging was a few years ago. So I'd love to get your perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a ton of downloads, but, and now we're not here to talk about the business and process of podcasts, but, I could just tell you that I've seen, as far as mobility goes, how people are listening. They're definitely consumed on their iPhones. I think that's the number one place that they're consuming podcasts these days. Mm-hmm. The iPad is up there too, but you look at numbers too. You also are going to see people are consuming them in their browser. Maybe someone will go into a browser on their iPhone and play it through the player that we have on our websites, because you see that a lot of that going on, so. As it's evolved, I think the apps have gotten more robust. I mean, the Apple Podcasts app has gotten a lot more popular than it ever was before, because Apple just kind of shoved aside podcasts in the mobile world, and they said, this is nothing. But now they see this is something we really need to pay attention to, because, in fact, I didn't even mention this. Amazon's getting into the podcasting world. I don't know if you received the email from them yet, but they did a survey, and you can get your podcast listed on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and through Audible. So I mean, so now they're jumping into the podcast business. So that is just telling you how big it really has become. And mobility wise, it's going to just continue to be something fun and easy to listen to. I listen to it on my bedside a lot of times. I just would throw my iPhone into its charger and have my blinders headset I have, it covers my eyes, and I just listen to a podcast, and most of the time fall asleep within minutes. So,
I think you're right. I think you've got to be mobile. You mobile first everywhere. I think at the end of the day, because just that the whole world's changing, and I think I've been working on an article for the website about some positive things coming out of this pandemic. And interestingly enough, podcasting really has been one of those things, because I think it has so many great elements to it. As a listener, right. I can be really deliberate about what I want to listen to, who I want to listen to, right? I can tune out all the other noise. And if it's relevant, you'll get my ears, and I think I think it's that kind of control that's going to give everything that podcasters are doing, and it's great for the listeners to really be able to sort of filter out what they do and don't want to listen to. And again, it being mobile and being everywhere, I think is just so incredibly exciting. I'm so excited about where it's going. Absolutely. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yep, and that we'll move on from that topic to go into some tips before we wrap up the show here this week. I've got 3 tips I'd like to touch upon. The first one is, how do you tell how much storage you have on your that's sucking up all that storage from podcasts and TV shows? We're just talking about that because you download a lot of these podcasts, and if you want them downloaded and you want to be able to listen to them, let's say if you're on a plane or if you don't want it to take up any of your bandwidth. You might be paying for those very few people who don't have unlimited data these days, which I'd be surprised to find. But how can you tell how much is your podcasts and TV apps are showing? So the way to do that is you actually go into the settings app and you go under general, and then you go into iPhone storage. And then of course that brings up all the things that are on your device and what's taking up your space. You can scroll down to the podcast app, and in fact, we're also talking about the TV app as well, and then tap that. So if you go to podcasts, it'll actually show the list of podcasts that are there and whatever are downloaded. And if they're there, you can see what's taking up that space, and you can remove them accordingly by going into the app and doing that. The same thing applies for the TV app. A lot of times, either iPad or iPhone, for that matter, you can go in and see what content was downloaded, and it's pretty common on an iPad. You're going to do it because especially if you're traveling on a plane, that you want to be able to watch a movie, because those movies can be pretty big. On iPads,
multiple gigabytes. Yes,
2 gigs easy. So, any thoughts on that?
Oh, I think knowing how to do this is one of the, this and managing your notifications are probably the 2 biggest things that you want to know about on your device, because you just have no idea how much space can be taken up by all these shows. And I think the important thing is, even if you listen to it, doesn't necessarily mean it will be automatically deleted so you have to know how to, because it'll sneak up on you. So especially with those movies and with all the services like Netflix and Apple TV Plus allowing you to download those very rich, high content, high def episodes and TV shows, they will take up a lot of space. So huge tip. Great tip.
Yeah. So just go in there and check the rest of your storage too, because you might be something else that's taking up space that kicks you too. So next one I want to talk about a little bit is how do you move a note into a folder in the Notes app? And I'm a big user of the Notes app. You use the Notes app a lot? I do. I'm terrible about putting them into folders, but I do. Yeah, I am too. I do use the Notes app every day. Yeah. So if you, how you actually go and organize notes to organize them in a folder, what you do is you open up the Notes app, and if you need to, you can go up to the left arrow and return to the main screen, which will have the folders highlighted in bold. And it also depends on your settings. So then what you do is just tap into the main folder, such as all iCloud, or you might have a note or subfolder. And then you can tap the 3 dots that are up in the upper right corner, and then tap and select those notes, because you can check them off in the circles, just like if you got a to-do list with the check boxes. And then you can just tap the folder that you want to put it in, or you can create a new folder, and then you just move them right into a folder. And away you go, and they're much more organized, because they just added this, I believe, in iOS 13. They made some mass improvements in iOS 13 with this, because it was. I had notes everywhere, as like you said, you just can't find them anywhere. So this is a really good tip to understand how to move your folders.
If it's any indication how much I use this app, I have notes dating back literally to 2012.
Yeah. Not surprised me too. I probably have not that far back, but far enough.
and good luck finding them if you don't search for them. So this is putting them into folders, I think, is something I've got to get better at. But it's incredibly good to know, and it's one of those features I think that a lot of people don't know about how robust the app is, because again, there's been so many features added over the years that it's just gotten better and better. It's great app.
Then my last tip here is about the Apple Watch. There's been times I've seen my Apple Watch go through and an app would just freeze up for some reason. Way you can do that is you actually can force quit an app here. And what you can do is you can press and hold the side button until the power off slider appears. And then when the power off slider appears, then just press the side button, and then it brings it back to the menu. And it should clear it up. And you also could then press the digital crown until the app closes, and then it'll return you to the home screen. Now, other thing you could do is, and I do this from time to time, the Apple Watch sometimes can get all messed up. I don't know if you knew that there's a way to actually do a hard reset. And the way you do it is you hold in the side button and the digital crown home button at the same time, and just keep holding it until all of a sudden the Apple logo shows up. Similar to what you do on the iPhone, where you do the volume up, volume down, then hold the power button in to do a hard reset for there. Well, that's how you do it on the Apple Watch too.
Good stuff.
I don't know if you've come across any issues with having a frozen Apple Watch before.
I have, and I'm going to admit a dirty little secret here. I have one arcade style game on my watch, and on the Apple Watch. I love the game. It's called hold on, what is it called? It's called Space some.
Well, that should be your app. Your app.
I was totally going to be app pick, and it's a combination of. Now, see, I'm going to go old school here. It's a combination of Tetris and Galaga, and it's this, and it's a shooter game, and but it takes a lot of processor speed,
especially on the Apple Watch.
Oh my God, yeah. But it's a great little game that you can just literally stand in line or something if you're waiting and just shoot away. And but it does once in a while cause the watch to crash. So knowing these two tips are critical, because there are some rather intense apps available for the Apple Watch, and you could find yourself in the situation. So you don't want to go without it too long.
Well, make sure we get that in the show notes. What's your app? That was your app pick. To remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
We'll get it in the show notes for everybody, so you can take a listen. Anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap things up here? Did you have any other thoughts with your iPhone, iPad, iOS, Apple TV?
I am. Here's what I will say. I am incredibly excited about the new iMacs, because I have a new iMac coming next week. I'm so jazzed.
Oh, exciting. Okay.
Hence the unfortunate shutdown of tonight, because this baby is a little bit long in the tooth. And I will tell you that, by the way, keeping the original box does actually add to the resale value of your Macs and your iPhone devices. So, okay. And you can actually sell the empty boxes on eBay, believe it or not. I just found that out too. So, you could sell anything. It's incredible. But so I'm incredibly excited about a lot of the new devices that are coming out this year, and so there's that piece. And honestly, Dave, I just want to say, if I don't get a chance to say thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute blast. We love to have you on the show here this week, and we'll have a lot of fun continuing the weeks. And I wish you all the luck with your podcast. I'm so excited for you, and you and I will be talking a lot, because we got our Suburban Chicago Apple users meetings coming back in September, and we got some great sessions there. If you we've got that link in the in my bio in the show notes, myscau.org, if you're interested in our group and coming and seeing us. And we're doing things virtually, so you always could join us. It's not just stuck to. Of course, it's in Chicago, so but. Anybody could come to the meeting virtually, and looks like virtual is going to be the way to go for quite a while yet. As far as I don't think it's ever going away completely, and it's going to be bigger than it was before. Certainly, I think so. That's exciting, and we've got some great speakers and some great presentations coming up. I'm real excited about the fall and the winter. So we got a lot coming up. Exciting.
Yep. So come see us, and I'm always talking about it. So we'll hope potentially see some. I'd like to see a listener or two to come join us. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, and you can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, even Spotify. And just go to our newly revised website at intouchwithios.com. All the links to all the ways to listen to us are there, as well as all the episodes. Everything you want to be able to do to listen to us is there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Davis, please tell people how they can find you.
Easiest place to find me is at diabeticsavvy.com, our website, which houses everything from all of our recipe videos and podcasts and our blog posts. So that's the easiest place to find me. And I'm literally on all the social media at Diabetic Savvy as well. So look for the bald guy in the blue shirt. You'll find me.
That's right. And we'll have all the links in the notes. And really appreciate you being here.
I'm so glad. So thrilled.
And we really appreciate everybody that's listening with me here. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again soon.